Okay, I'm just pulling. Sorry, guys. I'm just pulling up my notes here for all the news. Let's see here.
I have all the actual articles open, so if we need to refer to them,
We will. So you're way more prepared and professional than we are.
somehow I doubt that.
No, Rob's right.
No,
He is.
there it is. Okay.
This is the AT Banter Podcast, a balanced and entertaining look at assistive technology, accessibility, and its importance in people's lives. Join Rob Minot, Ryan Fleury, and Steve Barclay as they banter with people around the world about anything and everything regarding assistive technology and the disability community. Now, on with the show.
Hey, and welcome to another episode of AT Banter.
Banter.
My name is Rob Minot. I am joined today.
I thought you said it was Steve Barclay.
No,
Yeah, just moments ago you said you were Steve Barclay.
I don't know what you're talking about. Fake news. Joining me is the aforementioned Steve Barclay,
With a cowbell.
Mr. Ryan Fleury.
Howdy.
Does not have a cowbell.
No,
He does not have a cowbell. And we have a special guest sitting in with us today. Ryan, would you do the introductions, please?
Joining us today is our longtime friend, Clement Chou.
Woohoo!
Hello! No cowbell either, but I have a Samsung that just went off.
Oh, there you go.
Well, tell us, guys, tell us a little bit. Where do you guys know Clement from?
Steve goes way back.
Oh boy.
Oh, yeah, gosh. Clement was one of my camp kids back on Bowen Island.
Yeah, and he still talks to me.
CNIB Technology Camp. Well, more importantly, you still talk to me. I believe Clement may have been the one who gave me the name Evil Steve.
I did not give it to you, but I agreed.
Who did give it to me? Who do I owe?
One afternoon.
Yeah, those camps sounded like they were a lot of fun.
Oh, they were good times.
Now, CNIB does not run those anymore. Do they? I know they lost the Bowen Island property, but do they do something similar to that now?
Yeah, they've got a camp now. It's been running at Sajak Ranch up in just outside of Mission.
Yep.
Right.
Beautiful camp. Fully accessible. It's got a pool. It's got a canoeing area. It's got animals.
Oh wow! So
Yeah.
have you been out there?
I went out there once, just when they were first looking at the camp, to see whether or not we could do a technology camp there, and the answer was no, because they didn't have any kind of internet out there at the time, and they weren't planning on getting any anytime soon either.
Because animals don't need the internet.
Apparently
Nope.
not.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Unfortunately.
Now I don't know if they've added that on since then. That was a number of years ago, but
Added on what? Sorry?
if they've added internet out there since, but
Well, see, here's the thing. That from the 2 years that I went there as a volunteer, the volunteers had internet, but it was only in a certain... Literally, it was a certain spot.
oh.
Because it's internet in the bush, which means that if you're not standing in this exact spot, you won't get it.
Right.
Now, with those camps, though, was the technology component of that a fairly big component back when it was on Bowen Island? Like, is that kind of a big hole in the camp that they don't have a technology component?
I don't think so as much anymore. I mean, back when we were doing those camps, when we first started, we were teaching rudimentary JAWS skills, and then we got into chat, teaching MSN chat, which is where some guy named Clement couldn't remember to log himself off.
I don't know what you're talking about.
And then once we got those guys on chat, they all started chatting back and forth, and the next thing we knew, they'd all turned into music pirates.
Oh yeah, I remember that. I think
and
somebody might have started that, and don't remember who it was.
Yeah, and that motivated everybody. So by the next year, everyone was a highly proficient computer user, pirating their black little hearts out.
All because of the music, man.
That's right.
We miss you, Napster.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No kidding.
I think it's also partially the fact that now that it's not an age-separated camp anymore, where they kind of lump some and throw all the kids in together, it kind of voids any kind of space for technology because all the kids would have markedly different interests in terms of what they would want to learn. If they still did a separated teen camp, it could probably be easier to organize a technology component because, you can kind of generally figure out what teens want to learn about, right? Even if you wanted to dive deeper into social media or like nowadays, social media or video production or music production or whatever, like you could delve into that, except the problem is with the 5 to 12-year-olds, they probably won't care all too much about it, right? So there's really no room for it anymore, I think.
Well, plus those 5 to 12-year-olds that are out there now, I believe they came with technology skills straight out of the womb.
Yeah.
That may be true too.
I think they basically pop out and start using an iPad.
Some of them were probably born with an iPhone in their hand.
That's right.
Speaking of technology stories, I have a little bit of a testimonial to share with everybody.
Oh, yeah?
Yesterday, I came downstairs, turned my TV on, and I had no audio.
Uh-oh.
Dun, dun, dun.
Dun, dun, dun. So I sat on the couch and went, what can I do? So I grabbed my TV remote, went up and down through the inputs because I kind of have them memorized. Still no sound. Unplugged the cable box, rebooted it, still no sound. I thought, okay, who can I call?
Ghostbusters.
Well, I thought of that, but I couldn't remember the number. So I thought, well, I don't have any neighbors nearby. But wait, why don't I install Be My Eyes and give them a call?
Okay.
So I installed the Be My Eyes app on my phone.
Now, Be My Eyes, remind me, that's a...
volunteer service.
Yeah, it's a volunteer service where essentially people connect you to, or you get connected to a certain somebody. Doesn't matter who it is. It's any old Joe who's signed up to be a volunteer.
Right.
And it's basically a more centralized FaceTime call.
Pretty much, yep. And they have services and agents all around the world now. I think they saw recently like 90,000 volunteers worldwide.
Something like that.
Okay.
Wow.
So I basically,
and this is an app, right? This is an app
on my phone.
Yes.
So,
Is it available on Android and iOS?
Yep.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay.
That's why Ryan has it.
yep. So I installed it, called the operator up, and I said, "Hi, my name's Ryan. This is my issue. Can you help me?" She's like, "Absolutely." So I pointed my phone at the TV, and she's looking through the camera. She said, "Okay, well the screen's black, but it looks like there's some writing down in the bottom left-hand corner." So I moved my camera down there, and she says, "It says no signal." I went, "Okay, great. So that means I'm on the wrong input." So I hit the input button, and as I started moving up and down through the inputs, she was telling me, "Okay, that's HDMI 1, 2, 3. I said, "Okay, great. I want HDMI 3. So I selected that, and she says, "Okay, there's pictures on the screen now." I said, "Okay, that's probably my Apple TV. That's what I want." But I still have no audio. So I said, "Okay, well, at least I'm on the right input. So let me just check and see if my soundbar is turned on, because it's always on, and somehow I guess it got turned off." So I turned the soundbar on, and lo and behold, I had audio.
Oh, good.
But without that Be My Eyes app, I wouldn't have been able to do all that diagnostic stuff and know actually what was on my screen.
Right.
So 5 stars to Be My Eyes. Give it a shot. Great volunteers, great service.
Now, that is a free app,
Yep,
correct?
absolutely.
Yeah. So,
Yes, it's a free app.
Very cool.
And I will add, it's great volunteers and great services most of the time.
Well, that was my first experience, and like I said, excellent rating.
You literally get everybody from the most helpful people to kids who literally have nothing else to do.
Oh, is that right?
Yes.
yeah, well, that's interesting. Maybe I might volunteer for that. I wonder what I wonder if you can set it so that between certain
You cannot
hours.
set it. So as soon as you boot the app up, it connects you to the first available person. Doesn't matter who they are or where they are.
Oh, I see. So, but if the app isn't running, then you don't get contacted.
No.
Yeah, no.
As a volunteer, so you can pick your own times. You can be like, okay, I've got a couple hours. I'll I'll open the app.
probably.
Yeah,
And,
just sit the app down on my phone and just leave it there and
Got
see
it.
who calls. Yeah, so that does happen. That does work. That
And I want to get them on the podcast, and we can dive into Be My Eyes as well.
yeah, that's great.
It'd be
That's
cool. It was definitely a novel idea when it came out.
Well, they've partnered with Microsoft Disability Desk now, so I don't think they're going anywhere.
Yep.
Well, it's a nice free option.
Yeah,
in terms of
sure.
Just like
Ira.
Ira,
Well,
yeah.
sure. I mean, it's very similar to Ira, except it's free, obviously. And what's your take on it? What is
Well-
it just as good of a service as Ira?
It's basically it's like comparing cars, right? It's like comparing a Ford to a Lexus, right? So essentially, Ira is you pay more for it, but you get what you pay for. The people who are on the other end are trained agents,
Right.
and there's methodology behind it. Where Be My Eyes is kind of the free budget alternative that says, okay, well, we're connecting you to a volunteer, but we don't know what they're like because we're not regulated.
Yeah, I mean, the more options for people, the better. To be honest,
Absolutely.
I mean,
For sure,
it's great.
for sure.
Yeah.
It's,
I agree.
it's certainly
I
great.
think Ira is fantastic, and the nice thing about Ira is because it comes in the form of glasses.
Sure.
It's easier, I think, to line up a view of something,
Yeah.
as opposed to trying to point your camera at something, because not every totally blind person, especially, is aware of how to angle their camera and whatnot, right?
Sure.
So I think in that way, Ira is better in the sense that you get professionally trained agents as well as an easier way to line yourself up. But at the same time, Be My Eyes is it's more convenient, and for those of us who need it, only once in a blue moon, it's nice not to have to pay for it.
Absolutely.
Yeah, I would think
So-
that Ira would be really appealing to people who are visually impaired that maybe travel a lot.
Yeah,
I
or
could-
people
I
who
could-
get out a lot in
Right.
general, right?
Right. It would be nice to have that safety net if that okay, I'm going to be at the airport and I may need like some help navigating to a gate
Yeah.
or something.
Well, and for example, Ira would have been fantastic during my trip. I would have loved it. Even if they couldn't read the sign, that's fine, as long as they can tell me what something looks like. Because I'm a fluent Japanese speaker, I can ask for directions and I can carry it on from there. But it would have been nice to have just somebody who could say, oh, by the way, there's something that looks like a train sign over there. There's something that looks like,
There's
an ad for whatever.
never mind. I was gonna make a joke, and I was like, "Oh shit! I'm just gonna have to edit that out if I make that joke." So forget it. I'm saving myself some work.
That's okay. There's probably things you're gonna have to edit out anyway.
Yeah. Oh, I know. That's always the case with us.
Yeah, but no, definitely agree with what Ryan said. It's a plug for Be My Eyes. Give it a shot. I used it to fix a broken computer. So it definitely is very, very handy when you need it.
Yeah, I mean, I would think that even people who are subscribed to Ira, there'd be no reason why to not have Be My Eyes on your phone as well.
Sure.
So
True.
that if it's you can save some money there, right? If you're
Yep.
worried about using up your minutes.
Yep.
Yeah.
So, especially again, I really do feel like Ira is its strength is when you're on the go. As something
for sure.
mobility related. If you're at home, I don't know. I don't really think that you necessarily need the glasses.
No, because you pretty much
could just
know
use your phone
house,
and-
you know your layout, you know
Yeah.
what's what.
So that's when you'd probably using something like Be My Eyes to save your minutes
Yeah.
would probably make the most sense. So very cool. All right, hey Ryan,
Rob.
Hey, what the heck are we gonna do today? What do you
Well, seeing that it's National Accessibility Week, we are talking news.
Woo!
Woo!
think? Not even just news, accessibility news.
Accessibility news.
Well, now.
Even better.
Wow.
Boom! Wow,
Look how that
mind
lined up.
blown.
Holy topical.
We know what we're doing. This isn't necessarily news, but I thought this blog article was interesting. The name of it is called Why I Won't Try On Disability to Build Empathy in the Design Process. It's by Amelia Abreu. Shout out. This has been a debate for a while. As I understand it, this was something that was pretty common 10 years ago, was it not, Steve?
Are you talking about the use of simulators?
Yes. Yeah, maybe tell people what I'm talking about.
Okay, so there's these vision simulator, typically glasses or goggles that you can wear that attempt to simulate what somebody with a visual impairment might see. So it could be, a big fuzzy view in the center to represent somebody with macular degeneration. It could be a little pinhole to represent somebody with, say, RP. But there's a number of different ones, and it's been a hot button topic for a long time. There was a point where CNIB was doing demonstrations using them all the time, and then people got up in arms about it. People from the community got up in arms about it and basically said, "Hey, you can't give somebody a real experience of what it's like living as a blind person just by slapping on a pair of goggles and walking around for 10 minutes." Right.
And I mean, and that extends to, many other disabilities too. I mean, I remember being in college and seeing, a bunch of students, in wheelchairs wheeling around, and, whatever program they were in, it was a disability, quote, disability simulation, where it's just like, here's what it's like to have to drive around in a wheelchair for an afternoon. Mm-hmm. So there's all kinds of them out there. I don't know, what side of the debate do you come down on, Steve?
I certainly understand the sensitivities around it. I think that the simulators do actually provide insight to people, because they might not necessarily understand, just a description of what an eye condition might do. I think it really brings it home for them.
Sure.
It's, I guess, of limited use, is best I could put it.
Yeah, well, this article brought up a really good point that I'd never really thought of before. And this is probably what the main argument against these is that, and you alluded to it earlier, is that it's almost counterproductive because it makes those people who are going through that simulation, they don't have the context of having lived with that condition for years and years and years, and so they don't have all the methods and tools that somebody who's been living with that condition for years has. So it's a kind of a fearful experience for them, and they take away from that. They go, oh well, geez, somebody who's blind, I don't know how they function.
Well, and I think that's part of why it's so sensitive, is that people are aware, especially the people who actually have the disabilities, are aware of the fact that it actually does the opposite of what it's meant to.
Right.
And I think that at least for the blind community that I've been part of, that's kind of been the stir about it forever, is that, well, you can't learn what it's like to live as a blind person in 10 minutes or an hour or an afternoon.
Right.
If you're going to do something like that, you have to commit to it for at least a couple days.
Full immersion.
If not more. It's the same, and so I think I agree with Steve. I think I think they have a place, but I think it's very important to clarify the fact that this is not what it's like to live as a blind person. This is just something. It's a small representation of what has to be dealt with on a regular basis, and it's also important to emphasize the point that those people trying those simulations, that you guys haven't lived this, and you don't have the tricks and the little workarounds that people who have lived this for 20, 30, 40 years have found.
Yeah, and and the point that the article makes, I mean, because certainly the article, it recognizes that these simulations have value and they're well intentioned, but sort of the solution that this article sort of brings forward is, maybe instead of doing simulations like this, just spend time with somebody who's living with that particular disability.
Well,
and that would be a far more productive way to actually get some real insight.
Well, it's like a different form of full immersion, right? So like, Steve, I was saying, immerse yourself in it. If you want to simulate it for yourself, do it for a couple days. But what's the next best thing? get to know someone who's lived it and actually get to know them. Don't just look at them, see what you see on the surface and kind of leave it at that. It makes more sense to ask. And this is what I always tell people. Don't be afraid to ask, because if you don't ask, you'll never learn, and we'll get frustrated with each other, and things won't get done. So I would say I love the solution in this article, because I think that's probably the best. I think it's the best one there is, honestly, at the end of the day.
Yep. Yeah, I agree.
Fair.
Yeah, I don't know. Does CNIB? Well, I mean, I guess none of us really know, because we're not really around to CNIB these days. But I just wonder if
they do still use them every now and then.
Oh, do they?
At presentations or demonstrations.
Well, and I think like Steve said, the simulation will give you an idea of what somebody with macular degeneration sees. Without that simulation, you have no idea, and that's where it stops.
Yeah, and I think it's important to draw that line, and that's where it really comes down. Like CNIB uses it. I'm involved with Blind Beginnings, and I know we use it. We use them every now and then, but we go out of our way to emphasize that this isn't actually what it's like. So, like I said earlier, it's emphasizing the point that this is not what it's like. This is just a representation.
Yeah, this is what it's like to see this way, but this isn't what it's like to live with this.
Yeah, well put. Well put.
And I think depending on the presenter, some people forget to, which I think is very dangerous. Some people forget to add that point. So I know whenever I present, if I ever use those, which I have, I always point it out like that. I don't always say it quite as eloquently as Ryan just did, although I might steal that now. But the idea is right? Because it's fair, because you do want them to kind of have an idea of, what their friends or their, what their grandma or their grandpa might be seeing, but you don't want them to have the fear that, oh man, I couldn't live like that. Well, no, you couldn't, because you haven't lived like that for the last 20, 30 years of your life.
Yeah, no, exactly. So, I mean, I think that's the biggest point in the article too, is just that, you don't want these simulations to actually backfire and make those people go away thinking that, being visually impaired is limiting, because that's exactly the opposite message that generally we want to send. So,
yeah. And I think it's just important to clarify whenever you do use tools like that.
Let's see. What else do we have, fellas? Hey, let's talk about Oath.
Oath.
Getty images.
Yeah, this is cool. This came out last week. Oath, which is a global media and technology company, whatever that is. They're partnering with the National Disability Leadership Alliance and Getty Images to start creating a collection of images that accurately portray individuals with disabilities and breaks stereotypes. So finally, we'll have some stock.
This is kind of
photos that portray disability. Instead of, like, right now they just have a bunch of models. They slap sunglasses on them and give them a cane and be like, "Okay, you're a blind person, go." What they're talking about trying to change is that a lot of times the people with disabilities are portrayed in a light that's, and this is from the right from the article, quote, pitiful stereotypes of disability. And what they want to do is make both the types of images far more diverse, but also portray them in more of a natural and dynamic light to kind of break that stereotype. So
I get that, but what my question then is still, how do you do that with a stationary photo?
Well, I think that if you were to go onto an image site and do searches for people with disabilities, you'd probably find one that there's very few photos, and the photos that you would find would be very, very focused around the disability specifically.
Well, I'd actually be curious about that. Like, if you did a Getty image search for visually impaired people, what would come up?
That's exactly it. And I think the point here is that, like, and I'll try to sort of think of some examples. Like, if you search for, say, blind person, you might come up with somebody on a street with a white cane, like just standing there, or somebody with a guide dog walking down the street.
Okay, but so how is that?
Well, I think the point here is that part of the things that they want to change is they want to have more diversity in that. So, you know what, they might instead have a blind person in an office environment, or a blind person in an educational environment using a Braille display, or, you know what I mean? Something more dynamic that's more than just, oh, hey, here's a blind person. He's wearing sunglasses and he has a guide dog, and that's what identifies a blind person. You know what I mean? So I think the idea here is to really sort of to do away with the standard vision of what what people with disabilities, what environment they normally sit in.
So I just actually did a Getty.
I was just going to ask Steve to do that.
Yeah,
earlier.
and
you read my mind.
And so for visually impaired, there are 46 images available, which for starters is not a lot of images when you think about it. So the top ones here, we've got a guy looking directly at the camera. He's got let's see.
It's not Stevie Wonder, is it?
I gotta zoom in on it. He's got one eye that's looking forward, and he's got another eye that's clouded over. The second picture is a girl looking up at the camera, a little girl, and both of her eyes are closed. Then there's a guy in a business suit beside another guy in a business suit. One guy is holding a white cane. The other guy is pointing to a piece of paper that he's holding in front of the blind guy, and I don't know why he would be pointing at the piece of paper. Then there's a picture of a guide dog at a crosswalk. Right. There's a picture of somebody's eyeball. I don't know why that in particular represents visually impaired. There's a guy sitting reading Braille. Yep. Same guy in the suit. Is that the same guy? Yep, that's the same guy. They must have done multiple shots. So in one, he's got his white cane propped up beside him, and he's reading Braille. Another one, he's got his white cane, and he's rifling around in a bag.
So I think in 6 months to a year's time, we need to do a follow-up and just actually see what the images have come out. And
I'd be curious about that too, because I mean, right now, like, there aren't a lot of images that I would, get upset about.
Well, let me read you guys this one paragraph from the article.
I gave Rob time to defend his position.
Which listen, I don't have a dog in this fight. I'm just telling you what the article's saying. Okay, so quote: many of the images of disability that are traditionally used in the media reflect only the heroic or the pitiful. Stereotypes of disability when disability is much more diverse. The Disability Collection will repicture disability in a way that is dignified, modern, diverse, authentic, and human. The project invites photographers to portray disability as a natural part of someone's identity instead of portraying disability as something that needs to be, quote, cured, fixed, or overcome. Disability is intersectional, so the collection will intentionally include representation across age, ethnicity, sexual orientation, gender identification, socioeconomic, religion, and culture, with a focus on traditionally underrepresented groups. End quote. So there you go.
Well, I mean, it sounds pretty on paper, so we'll see how it comes out. I mean, I'm willing to keep an open mind about it, but I can't help but think that every other time someone has said something like that, it usually doesn't turn out that way.
Now, but don't you feel like even the fact that this is happening, though, it's a positive? I mean, it's somebody somewhere, they're taking steps to, again, make disability more visible, and starting conversations about it.
Yeah, and I think that's one of the big benefits to this article, and you hear a lot more about it in Hollywood right now too. A lot more disability actors are saying, get the people with disabilities portraying the roles and lead roles.
No, I do think that it is a positive. The fact that this dialogue is being opened up in the first place, because it's been a long time since anything like this happened.
One other thing I would point out, just looking at these images that are here, there is not one non-Caucasian.
Oh, is that right?
Not one.
Oh.
See, so they have a point.
Come on, Getty.
I mean, this is an interesting section of the article as well. Listen to this. Getty Images customer search data shows that the significant desire for high-quality, modern images that accurately represent people with disabilities. Global search data from 2016 to 2017 indicates that searches for, quote, wheelchair access increased 371% year over year on gettyimages.com. Additionally, disabled worker was up 254%, autism awareness was up 196%, and deafness was up 144%. So people are searching for these images.
Yeah.
Well, and I think
So there's a demand for it. So, I mean, there is a bit of a business case for this as well.
Yeah, for sure.
Well, I think it's a snowball effect too, right? In the last year, Google has definitely put a great big push on accessibility in Google Maps. So there's been a big push in accessibility overall in the last couple of years. And sure, more and more people are searching for accessibility and wheelchair access and those specific terms.
Yeah.
For as much as we made a joke out of, say, that the disability emojis, I mean, I think that if you look at everything as a big picture over the past 6 months, we've had Microsoft, we've had
Big picture. I saw what you did there. We have things like Xbox Live allowing disability related avatars for their Xbox Live system. Then they come out with an adaptive controller. Mm-hmm. We have this happening. All these things together they're all building and they're all working together to make accessibility and these communities more visible and to allow them to enter into these things that normally they haven't been able to. So I think it's incredibly valuable, and I think it's powerful.
I agree. As much as I was kidding about it, I do think that if there's anywhere to spread disability awareness, it's the internet, or at least to start the conversation anyway. Yep. I don't think it should stay there, but I think it's a good platform to start. And Getty Images, given how many people search on it on a regular basis, I think is a great place to go.
Yeah, and I mean, part of the power of that too is, well, there you go.
Sorry, I just found 3 blind mice.
How did they get the sunglasses on those little guys? They must have glued them.
Photoshop.
Glued them on. I don't know where I was going with that.
And the world will be a better place.
See, this is another reason we got to stop doing Monday shows. Ryan's always grumpy on Mondays.
Not grumpy.
You are grumpy.
Not grumpy.
You are grumpy.
No, I'm giving you my opinions on these articles.
Yeah, your opinion's always like,
shut up, Rob.
See?
So I'm on page 10 of Getty Images.
So madly.
And it seems, according to Getty Images here, that the only people who are blind or visually impaired are either Caucasian or Asian. There is no representation of any other skin tone in any of these images.
Really?
So, yeah.
Yeah, see, so they have a point.
Yeah, they have a point. There's definitely, there's a cartoon black kid with one eye.
A cartoon.
Oh, now you're getting into multiple problems there.
Boy, oh boy.
Oh, jeez.
Yeah.
Ridiculous.
Of course, I've also found a one-eyed chihuahua. So. Yeah. Very.
Well, I'm glad to see
very interesting.
The one-eyed Chihuahua community being represented.
There is diversity there. Visually impaired Chihuahuas need reps too, apparently.
Clearly.
I got to stop scrolling through these things.
Yeah, really. You got 33 more pages to
so
go.
Hypnotic.
All right, let's talk about something else.
Okay.
Right.
Let's move on. Hey, did you hear about this Gala thing?
What Gala thing?
Yes.
This is new technology that is about to revolutionize Broadway, Steve.
Really now?
Yeah, so there's a new app, and it's called GalaPro, and it is an alternative for both on-demand closed captioning and audio description to anyone with a smartphone. It uses multiple recognition software to actually cue and track what is happening on stage, and if the show stops, it stops. So it's for live theater, essentially. It's think of Vocali. Here locally we have an organization called Vocali that audio describes live theater. This is actually an app that will do that.
Okay, and it sounds like there's some networking component here, because it says that presenters upload the final script and connects the system to the house soundboard using pre-programmed light and sound cues as backup.
That's right.
So that's interesting, because it makes it sound like anybody who's presenting a show could potentially just say, "Hey, here's the script.
Someone
take care of the rest."
That's right. Yeah, it's
which I think is really great, because that kind of gets rid of the need to rewrite descriptive scripts.
That's right.
If you look at, Vocali does this, and probably other live description people do this too. They have to watch the show first and then rewrite the script and then add in whatever they need to add. So I think being able to just give your final script as a presenter, if you're willing to do it, would make things a lot more streamlined than it is right now.
Now, you would still want to have somebody who specializes in audio description go in and go through that script, because just having a script from Les Mis isn't going to tell you, the flowing gown is, black, and, it's not going to give you the descriptive part of the scenes. It's just going to give you probably the dialogue of the play.
No, actually, scripts will give you, as someone who did theater, scripts actually do go into a lot of detail about that kind of thing. So it'll tell you that somebody is wearing a flowing white gown and walking into the courtroom, or whatever hall, in a specific style of walk. So it does actually go into detail like that.
Okay, cool. Steve, bring it to Vocali.
Well, I think this is positive, because it does make both the audio and the captioning much, much more accessible, just in general. But I think you're right, Ryan. I think, just in terms of the richness of description, I think you would probably find it inferior to a live described event.
Yeah, probably.
Unless,
like Ryan said, you had someone who was specialized in audio description go in and actually add and modify it to what they needed it to be.
Yeah, and not only that, there's also a lot of applications to this system even beyond the accessibility component, which would be, for mainstream people who are having trouble understanding some of the dialogue.
They said captioning, right? So
there's closed captioning, which would make it, especially for people who might not have English as their first language.
That's right. That's exactly it. You could have multilingual.
I work with international students all the time, so this would be something like that I could see as a huge benefit to people who can just pull their phones out and actually look at what's being said.
Yes, and they say now that Broadway is on board, there are infinite possibilities in terms of scale, audience development, and artist innovation.
Well, especially with theater. If you can convince Broadway.
That's right. It's just going to trickle right down to everywhere else, and soon this could be just something that's everywhere. Especially when you're developing an app and anyone with a smartphone can take advantage of it.
Yeah.
This is something that potentially could really spread like wildfire, and live event description has been a real issue for a long time. That's normally been something that people with visual impairments and hearing impairments just have not really been able to enjoy.
Yeah.
So without great organizations like, say, Vocali, for example. Mm-hmm. But Vocali, that's a really expensive endeavor.
Yeah.
To have trained audio describers like that, and even then they can only do certain performances, and it's very limited. So a system like this, it could be a real game changer.
Yeah, and I spoke to Steph from Vocali before, and I forget what musical was coming to town. I don't know whether it was Cats or Grease or something, but it's only here for 2 weeks. So that that run doesn't give Vocali enough time to go in, study the scripts, the costume design, the lighting, all that sort of stuff.
Well,
then
and
pick a show
that's what I
that they're
mean
gonna
by
go do,
saying
right?
that
So
if
something like
presenters
this.
can just upload their scripts, that would speed up the process a lot more. Even if they do, they probably will have to make final edits and additions and whatnot, but just having the original production ready script, I think, would speed up the process by a whole lot.
Yeah, and probably open the door to a lot more shows.
Yeah, exactly.
That's awesome. Hopefully, I mean, it looks like the app is out. I haven't actually gone to any of the Play stores to actually see if it's available, but it's called GalaPro. We'll of course link it in the show notes, and any of you that are interested, you can go check it out.
And let us know your thoughts if you try it.
Yep.
And like us on
have the chance to go to Broadway.
Road trip.
On Broadway.
Can we all go just to
try?
Just to try it? You think?
Sure, Steve, you got some points left on your...
Nope.
Damn it.
Damn it. Come on, Steve.
Okay, hey, here is another article, fellas.
An article.
Woo!
Yeah, this is really cool. Apple pushes to teach coding to students who are deaf and blind. Yes, so on Thursday, Apple's CEO announced that the company is bringing its Everyone Can Code curricula for the Swift programming language to schools across the country that serve students who are deaf and blind.
Only programmers would think that it's a good thing to create more programmers. Hey, we're, frustrated and lack social skills. You should too. Sorry to all the programmers out there.
The guy who just said that owns a technology company.
That's right. The irony is thick in here.
I have programmed, I would rather shave my head with a cheese grater.
Hey, I think you already have.
I look a little rough today.
You need to shave, sir. So yeah, basically, I'm trying to see if they're actually building specific lessons that tailor to, but it doesn't look like it. All it talks about is voiceover.
It does talk about it does mention a curriculum. It only says it once, but I'm not sure if that.
Yeah, it says Apple says the participating schools will tailor lessons using accessibility technology the company has baked into the iPhone and other products covering people with vision, hearing, physical, motor, cognitive, or other assistive needs.
It sounds like the lessons are going to be tailored by each organization and not Apple.
Yeah, either that, or they're just going to be using things like voiceover. And there's they list here the different schools: California School for the Blind, California School for the Deaf,
Texas School for
Florida
the Blind,
School for the Deaf and Blind,
Perkins,
Hadley,
Perkins School for the Blind,
all the big ones.
Perkins. Oh yeah, pretty much all the big ones.
Yeah.
Actually, it literally is all the big ones right now.
So I imagine it is a specific curriculum that they've built specifically for specific.
Specific? Say specific again,
Specifically for
Shut
specific.
Could you be more specific?
I think we need a Getty image for Rob.
I hate you guys.
Specificity is a hard thing to
I've been watching. Listen, I watch CNN a lot. I watch a lot of Trump speeches so that I can roll my eyes, and repetition
Right.
seems to work for him. So.
That's diversion.
No collusion. No collusion. There was definitely no collusion in my collusion. Or any collusion. Not much else to say about that other than, again, another step in the right direction. It's great to see, this type of training extending into people who might have visual impairments or are deaf. I mean, it's a no-brainer.
Not like there aren't enough blind programmers already, But could always use more, right?
There might be one or two.
Yeah, maybe.
Okay, Ryan, did you have a chance to look at this new app that I sent you about called Smart Braille?
I didn't download it, but I read the article.
So I actually did have the chance to look at it.
Yay.
Oh, okay, excellent. See, somebody did their homework.
Yeah, because
We need to
because
have
I'm
you on the
Android-
podcast
I'm an
more.
Android user now. Well, I mean, if you want to have me on more.
We just may after this.
not
I'm going
sure
to
if Steve
replace Ryan.
Not sure if Steve could handle me for that long.
I'm out.
Thanks, buddy. After
No worries.
Okay, yeah. So tell us a little bit. So what was your experience of it? So give us a nutshell of what the app is.
So Smart Braille is kind of like well, I mean, right now it's still limited, but it's kind of trying to be the competitor for Seeing Eye in that or Seeing AI, sorry, in the sense that it's trying to be the OCR app that they want everybody to go to, and object identification is, I think, eventually in the plans, but right now the app is limited to text recognition and Braille input. I didn't actually try the Braille input, but I looked at it for a second, and it's kind of a weird layout. So what they did is they arranged it the way the Braille keyboard is, instead of the kind of the V shape that's on iOS. They have the dots lined up vertically, so
right.
kind of like how you would look at a full cell normally. So you have 1, 2, 3 on the left side going down, and then 4, 5, 6 on the right.
Right.
So depending on who you are, you might like that or you might hate it. I'm not a big fan of it personally. I preferred using the Braille keyboard on my iPhone with the piano design, which is similar to a Perkins. That worked best for me. And right now, it's also kind of clunky in the sense that it doesn't register quick multi-finger taps as well as it should. And the developers have said that's not because of the phones, that's actually because of the way they designed the app. But they want to, word from them is that they want to focus on the text recognition and OCR functionality first.
Right.
To incorporate multiple languages and eventually auto translation as well. So right now you can't, and right now you also can't actually save the text that you scan. You can only read it. But they're working on an update that's supposed to be coming out in a week or two that's supposed to let you copy things to the clipboard until they actually come up with a save feature.
Yeah, that's right. I mean, it is literally like version 1.0. Like this,
yes.
It's very.
It literally
new.
just came out last week.
Yeah.
So before anybody jumps on it, and
it's a work in progress.
It's well, absolutely, and it's a fantastic start.
Yes.
You know, it's so this could be a really really good Braille option for Android.
Yeah, because right now the only thing that's on Android is soft Braille keyboard, and that's kind of fiddly. The way kind of the rest of Android accessibility is, but it's a good solution. But if they can get this working, like you said earlier, the way at the beginning, more options are always better. So
right. So yeah, anybody who's looking for a Braille option on Android, I'd highly recommend giving this a try. It's free, of course. So
can we do a podcast one time where you give Ryan and I free reign to talk about how awesome Android is?
Yeah, sure.
Well, Steve and Rob are Android users now too.
Yeah, I love me some Android.
Yeah, we all made the switch.
Yep, it's a good app, but it's definitely still. There's definitely still stuff to be done, but at least they're showing initiative and they're willing to work on things and take feedback. So that always helps.
So let me ask you, Clement, going from using the soft Braille keyboard or whatever it was called on iOS and the piano style layout, what did you like about that versus having the 2 columns on Android?
Well, I like the Braille piano design because it basically mirrors a Perkins, right? Mm-hmm. Which is basically the standard for every Braille note taker ever. Even the Braille, the Braille Sense and the Braille Notes, even the latest ones, their Braille keyboards are relatively straight. Mm-hmm. Actually, I haven't seen the Polaris yet, but dots 2 and 5 might be a little bit elevated compared to everything else, but it's still relatively straight. which I like because that's what my muscle memory is used to.
Right.
I'm not as big a fan of the inverted V shape, and I don't really know why they went with that.
So didn't you still, though, have to make some adjustments in, scanning or swiping on the screen to find the button that you wanted to actually press? So like if you wanted to type the letter H, you still had to swipe over to .1, .2, and .5, whether it's vertical or horizontal. No?
So in Braille, because the Apple iPhone, at least, since the 6, because of the bigger screen, it allows for up to 5 fingers.
Oh, okay.
You can actually, the dots are actually arranged physically on the screen the way they would be. And what happens when you load it is it bypasses voiceover.
Right.
So it bypasses that command layer, and it goes straight back to direct operation of the actual screen. So if you tap something, that's what will come out. So with Braille, it was nice because if you put 2 fingers over dot 1 and 4 and hit it the way you would normally on a keyboard, that the letter C would come up.
Right.
So that was really handy for me. And just again, I like, again, muscle memory, because the Perkins has been what I started using since I was a kid, and I wasn't really comfortable with that whole the way Apple redesigned Braille screen input with the V shape.
Right. So I guess we'll have to try the Android version and just see kind of how people adopt it.
Yeah, and it's people have been using Soft Braille keyboard, which is the one on Android, forever, because that's kind of established as the best Braille input option. But if Smart Braille gets improved on, it might phase out Soft Braille.
It could be a contender.
That's right.
It could.
So with Soft Braille on Android, can you still do like the multi-finger? Can you still do the dot 1, dot 4?
Yes, you can.
Yeah.
But again, I haven't looked into it, but I believe it's only one dot configuration. There aren't multiple ones. Braille for me is still the best virtual Braille keyboard in existence, at least on iOS.
Right.
Because it basically lets you configure them more or less however you want. Actually, you do have that vertical configuration that Smart Braille uses right now. That was one of the options that you could get.
Just letting these guys get all the Braille out.
Braille is good.
Been a long time since we did a Braille show.
Yeah.
All right. Next up. You know what? I think this will be our last story because we're running
you
long.
Have like 25 stories this week.
You know what?
Yeah.
That's because I'm a professional.
I know.
No, let's talk about this Astronomy.
This is bizarre. This is just weird.
Yeah.
Did you actually listen to the sound
musician,
clip?
this actually is kind of weird.
Did you actually listen to the sound clip? Any of you?
No, I didn't.
did.
It's just weird.
Is it?
It's very, very bizarre.
Okay, let me set this up. So Astronomy, which is short for Astronomy Sound of the Month, is a website that was created that incorporates astronomy data into computerized music compositions. So it essentially touts itself as making outer space accessible for blind people. So the way it works is it maps the phases of gas to instruments and then aligns the velocities of these gases to different pitches of a minor pentatonic blues scale that results in... How would you describe this music?
No, why don't you?
The moon.
Why don't you bring up a sample?
I've got some gas.
Bring it up on the computer and play a sample. Because it's basically MIDI notes. It's MIDI music, is what it is.
Yeah.
And it's. I don't know. I listened to the one and only sound clip I found on the Milky Way galaxy, and it's like, this is doing nothing for me. This is just an astrophysicist with too much time on his hands. But for some people, it might work,
I mean,
for me,
they should just take like this and instead apply it to Led Zeppelin music. Or something.
So let's hear the sound clip.
Yeah, play the sound clip.
Well, okay.
Just put it up to the mic there.
Play it through the computer. It'll come through the Zoom room.
That's way too complicated, dude, for a Monday.
Let's bring up a web browser.
Wait, is this cool?
Wait, we can do it through the web browser.
Yeah.
Do it through
That's a good idea.
Ryan, you're
Why do it
such
through your
a professional. Okay, no, I'm saying you're a professional. You're
Where are we going?
astrosom.com.
So I clicked on the Milky Way Blues, and right now all it's giving me is a very, very long description that I don't really want to hear.
Yeah, I don't think that's.
No,
what
there
we're
is an
looking
audio
for.
file there,
There's
and
something. Listen to the sound of our galaxy rotating.
Can you guys hear the Milky Way rotating?
No.
The louder the music, and the closer the gases are or something, and the quieter the farther away.
You know, I think this could be actually pretty good with the right chemical inducing material.
This is like hallucinogenic.
I could get into this.
That's quite enough of that. I want to share this other one with you too. 'Cause this came up on Facebook the other day.
Dun, 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 dun.
Is that Rob's version of the flugelhorn?
No, that's that Led Zeppelin song. Dun, 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 dun. I can't go that high though.
Oh, that one. All right.
Yeah,
Okay,
that one.
so along with that same theme here, somebody's taken the map of the world and they've put it into point form, and they've assigned notes to
Oh, really?
the points on the map.
Oh boy.
So what you're going to hear is you're going to hear the world being played from North America moving eastward. You'll hear a bit of a pause and a little pink when it hits Iceland, and then it'll carry on. So
Oh, this is cool. Okay.
I'm going to play here. Just wondered, do we have to
This is
listen to an
weird.
ad first? No, there we go.
That's Alaska. Going across North America. Going
Iceland.
across the Atlantic.
Europe and Africa. Russia, India. Australia. There
That's
you go.
it.
Okay, now
I don't think I want that keyboard player in my band.
That's true. Oh, Lord. No, that's interesting. I wonder why someone did that.
yeah, I think you'd be hard pressed to get meaningful information from that. Audio graphing can be useful,
Sure. Absolutely.
but when you're trying to encode that many different levels of information into audio, it would take some pretty supreme audio processing skills to be able to pull meaning out of that.
Sure.
Too much time on your hands. What?
Exactly.
Yeah,
Good old
yeah,
sticks.
I agree.
No, well, this is, I don't know, for a couple of blind guys. Let me ask you, like, did you guys get anything out of either
No.
of those things? Like, so do we give this guy points for trying?
Yeah.
I think, like Steve said, the audio processing part of it. If they used the same instruments to resemble the gases moving out or gases moving closer to you, farther from you, same sounds for circling, same sounds for each effect, over time you would learn to associate that instrument sound with whatever movement is happening.
Yeah.
But it's just like, for me being totally blind, if you hand me a tactile picture of North America, to me it's just going to be a whole bunch of lines. But over time I'll learn to figure out, okay, this is Alaska, this is Wyoming, this is Idaho.
Yeah.
So I think in time you would learn to adapt. But
Yeah, I would agree with that. But I think, I think without more advanced audio processing, again, like Steve said, you would need a lot of skill to convey that information to somebody purely through audio.
Yeah.
there was an app, the last solar eclipse we had, there was an app that came out and actually had audio sequences or an audio representation of the eclipse as it passed over the sky. so that somebody who is blind would be able to hear
Really?
what was going on. And
Yeah.
I forget what was called, but
Interesting.
Whoa. Jeez. I'm gonna do a search for that right now. Hold on a second. Because it's gonna bother me if I don't remember the name of this app.
Telling you, we need to have this guy on the podcast all the time. He's a go-getter. I like him.
As opposed to me.
We would just be like, well, whatever. I guess we don't remember it. I'll just edit that part out. That went nowhere.
Keep talking.
Too much time on my hands.
There it goes. There, I got it. I had some coffee. It's better. Dun, 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 dun. That's what I want the Milky Way to sound like.
The Eclipse soundscape.
yeah, there you go.
Yes.
Yes, I want the Milky Way to sound like the immigration song too.
Yeah.
That'd be funny.
Yeah, well, so, I mean, I think whenever anybody tries to develop something like this, I think it's great. I mean, sometimes it's going to work and sometimes not so great. So I think we got to give the guy some credit. He's trying to bring astronomy to,
Sure.
To blind people. Great. Why not?
I think I'd still rather hear actual space sound.
You might as well. Yeah, I think, I'd rather just listen to Aerosmith.
I wonder if you actually did become really proficient in using that app and you actually were able to get, spatial information out of it, if it would ruin the way that you listen to songs. Because, all of a sudden you're listening to Aerosmith and it's like, oh, he just described a radio. Two knobs, one on the left, one on the right. One's halfway turned up.
All right. Have we said enough about that?
Probably.
Okay. Oh, hey, Ryan, did you hear about this story lately about the Amazon Echo that sent...
I did.
Oh,
I
yeah.
listened in on people
Oh,
that found this
yeah.
conversation and sent it to one of their contacts.
I made a note to talk about that. Yeah, that was interesting.
And it's still in the news.
Yes,
Yeah.
people do not like that.
Nope.
Especially considering that it recorded a conversation about somebody and then sent that conversation to that person.
Is that what
That's a
happened?
little-
Yes.
Oh, I hope they were saying
Oh, I
nice
thought-
things about
I
it.
know, right?
Oh, I thought it just went to a random
I'm
contact.
pretty sure. Hold on, let me read the article. Let's see. The wife. Okay, well, hold on. Well, let me just read the whole article.
Uh-oh.
Let me read the whole article. Okay, so the name of the article: Amazon Echo recorded and sent couple's conversation, all without their knowledge. As secret recordings go, the Portland couple's conversation was pretty mundane. They were talking about hardwood floors. Okay, so maybe I already got this wrong. But their Amazon Echo was listening and recorded their discussion. The device then sent the recording to somebody in their contacts without the couple's knowledge. Okay, so my version of this story was way more scandalous.
Yeah, but it could potentially happen.
It could.
Sure.
That's
The wife, identified only as Danielle, said that they learned something was amiss when they received a phone call from the husband's employee who lived in Seattle, telling them what he had inadvertently received. He told them to unplug their Alexa devices right away. Danielle says she and her husband went around the house unplugging their devices, which they had in each room, controlling their home's temperature, lights, and security.
whew.
So, yeah, weird, right?
Weird.
And this is kind of even weirder. Here's what Amazon's explanation of it was. Echo woke up due to a word in the background conversation sounding like Alexa.
Which happens.
Then the subsequent conversation was heard as a send message request, at which point
How?
Alexa said out loud, "To whom?" At which point the background conversation was interpreted as a name in the customer contact list. Alexa then asked out loud, "Contact name, right?" Alexa then interpreted background conversation as right. As unlikely as this string of events is, we are evaluating options to make this case even less likely. This sounds like bullcrap to me.
I don't think
That's
so.
a lot. Oh, come on. That's a lot of coincidences.
No, just like your Google Home or your Amazon Echo, they do prompt you. Are you sure you want to send this? And you usually say yes. So if it gathered that conversation as right and it confirmed that was the confirmation.
I don't
see that's possible, right?
Just like the Google Home and the Amazon Echo now, you don't have to constantly prompt it to do something. You can string phrases together now.
Yeah, no, I understand that, but that's a lot of like things to line up.
You don't even have
And
to, you don't even have to say Alexa. Like if I'm watching TV, and they say the word Amanda or something similar, my Amazon Echo goes blink.
Yeah, but that's
now it's listening.
But that's a problem.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah,
absolutely.
It's a problem. If Alexa's having that much trouble, like actually recognizing the proper words.
I agree. Yeah.
Now here's the thing. Google, I prefer Google Assistant because there's no one word that triggers it. If you don't say okay Google or hey Google or something before Google, chances are it won't trigger.
Chances are that's true. Although mine has triggered in weird occasions. I do have to, because I have a Google Home as well, and sometimes it does just kind of come on, and I'm like, I didn't say anything. So I mean, I think all these devices have their twitches.
Oh, sure. Yeah, absolutely.
Oh, yeah. Definitely.
I listen to audiobooks a lot in the car when I'm driving, and I've had 3 or 4 times now my phone triggered by something that's in the audiobook, and it's not saying...
Sounds like Google.
Yeah, it's not saying it, but it's
similar enough.
Similar enough that it triggers it.
Well, wasn't there an article a few weeks back about how they were warning
subliminal messages?
Yeah, they were warning. Yeah, not subliminal, but
well, frequencies.
In a frequency, there are frequencies out there that we actually can't hear that will trigger these devices because it matches the wake word.
Yep.
Huh.
So they're saying that potentially people could
hackers, not even hackers, marketers, advertisers on TV.
Yeah, you're just sitting watching TV, and all of a sudden your Amazon's...
You're automatically buying things you didn't even know existed.
Yep.
That's why I have my auto shopping turned off on all my devices, because I work with a bunch of idiots who will be loading my Amazon shopping cart on a weekly basis.
Hey, Rob, I think we've got a whole new project.
I think so. Where's the shopping button? Turn on.
Change password.
It'd be like, Ryan, why did you order assless chaps?
Halloween's coming.
What is this? Oh boy.
Yep.
That's kind of kind of creepy once you start thinking about it.
That's very creepy.
Ryan and assless chaps down the street.
Well, that too.
Yep.
Yeah, no, it absolutely is. I mean, this is a real big... I don't know. It seems like a real, way too many things lining up for this to happen that I wouldn't have thought is possible. So
I would also say that, and I would say it's interesting because the Google Assistant hasn't had that problem yet.
Not yet, and let's hope it doesn't.
That we're aware of.
But that's what I'm saying, right? Is that out of the two, and considering Amazon's explanation combined with the fact that Alexa had this problem first. That raises an alarm or two for me.
Well, and I actually wonder, and I'm just thinking about this now, I'm wondering if the same thing would have happened if the owner of the Amazon Echo device would have changed the name of their Echo, because you can change it to Amazon, Alexa, or Echo, or computer.
Right.
So if they, obviously they left it as the keyword Alexa. Sorry, everybody, we just triggered your devices 15 times. But if they had changed it to...
I'm not sure about that.
If we had changed it to Echo or computer, if the same thing would have happened.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. Maybe they might have to. Who knows? I mean, really, they're talking about making it so that you don't even need to say a wake word.
Right.
They're actively working on that, and I don't know how that's going to work, but
yeah.
So it seems to be this whole issue seems to be like sort of pushing and pulling in different directions. People want. More privacy, but
they want the convenience of not having to turn it on.
How are they going to, sort of bring those two things together? It's uncertain.
Well, this will be an excellent conversation for one of our upcoming shows on AI and ethics.
Oh boy.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Really?
I almost want to be back for that.
Well, you're more than welcome to. When is that?
June 4th.
June 4th. There you go. All right, let me see. Well, I think we've said everything that we can say about that. I mean, I don't know if I had an Amazon Echo, I mean, I wouldn't be panicking.
No.
Because all this stuff, you can go in, you can go into your settings and your history, and you can see exactly what conversations have been recorded. I mean, this sounds like a pretty big glitch, and I'm sure with the publicity that this article is getting.
No, conspiracy theories are going to jump. Conspiracy theorists are going to jump all over it.
Yeah, well, I don't think these digital assistants are. I don't think you're going to find one in any conspiracy theorist's house.
No,
they're going to be way too. But I mean, I think in general, I mean, they'll get better at plugging these types of holes because people are going to freak out about it. But that would have been so great if they were like crap talking one of their friends and then it sent the conversation be like evil Alexa.
Yep. See, it triggered it.
That would be so vindictive. Funny. Yeah. When your digital assistant turns against you. I'm going to order a $170 screwdriver and I'm going to email all your contacts about that thing that you did on Saturday night after you drank too much tequila.
Well, careful around your devices, folks.
That's right. Don't piss them off.
Exactly. They're listening to you.
One more thing we can add about the Google Assistant or the Google Home is that now you can actually, if you're making a phone call using your Google Home and you get into a menu that says press 1 for this, press 2 for that, 3 for whatever, you can actually use your voice now to get through those menus.
Yeah, I heard about that.
Yeah. So, new benefit.
Sure. I'm just waiting. I just want that duplex where it can just make phone calls for me.
It's coming.
If I can get him to answer the phone when my boss calls, that'd be even better. Hello, Steve.
Stop screwing around. Get Rob on the
line. Yes, I will get right on that. Right away.
Tell him he's fired.
Oh dear. All right. Hey Ryan.
Rob.
Where can people find us?
As usual, atbanter.com.
They can also drop us a line, atbanterpodcast@gmail.com. Hey, Steve, where else can people find us?
Hey, Rob, so glad you asked. We can be found on Twitter, we can be found on Facebook, and we can be found on Instagram.
Marvelous.
Yay for all the blind people.
Where can people find Canadian assistive technology these days?
You can find us at www.canasstech.com. Sorry, I was just about to do Rick's.
Well, speaking of Rick's, where can people find Chaos Technical Services?
They can find that at chaostechnicalservices.com. It's that easy.
It is that easy.
It is that easy. Yeah.
Hey, Clement.
Yes.
Thanks so much for joining us. It was great to have you here.
Wait a sec.
My pleasure. It was very good after hearing so many podcasts to finally be on one.
Wait, you listen to this thing? Yeah. Okay, that's what I thought.
Wait.
Every now and then.
Back
Ryan,
the show up.
Back. Okay.
Every show for the last 2 years, we have asked our guests, "Is there anything you'd like to plug?"
Oh yeah, that's right.
And we didn't ask Clement.
What?
We didn't. No. You're right. We didn't. We got okay.
So, Mr. Clement, sir.
Yes.
Is there anything you would like to plug?
Is there anything I would like to plug? Oh boy.
Yeah. What are you up to these days?
Well, for those in the community who know Johnny Ty and myself, we have been trying to break ground with a brainchild called Night Strike Self-Defense, which is a program currently in its infancy for developing martial arts training, or being more of a gateway to introducing martial arts to people who are visually impaired.
Really?
Because we recognize the fact that not everybody, some people might enjoy martial arts films and might want to do it, but aren't always confident enough to go to an actual school and say, hey, I want to try. And what we're trying to do is we're trying to teach that we're not teaching a new style, and we're not teaching an adaptive program. We're just providing an entrance to different styles that we both do, and show blind people that it is possible. And if they do want to get into martial arts, it's good to find a place in their own area. We just provide kind of an introduction to that whole other alternate world of fitness, because that's definitely one way to be healthy. Even if you're not doing it for self-defense reasons, it's just a lot of fun. And hey, it's always nice to have an excuse to horse around with other people and learn how to do it properly.
Now, so do you guys have a space that you do this in? Like, where can people find out more information?
Well,
if they're
currently,
interested?
right now, we because our attendance isn't quite as far up as we'd like to keep it regular. So usually we rent out the space where Johnny trains when we need it. But if we can get it regularly somewhere, it would be nice to have a regular space. But for that, we need a regular group. So for anybody who's interested, they can contact Johnny, Johnny Tiger at shaw.ca. They can also find us on Facebook at Night Strike Self-Defense. And they can also email me. And Ryan has my email address. But for those who don't, it's Chou, Clement@gmail.com, because I'm not professional enough to have any.
Yeah, we're not really ones to judge.
Nope.
Well, and we'll be sure to include all those links in our show notes as well. That's awesome. I had no idea that you were actually doing that, and we probably should have talked more about that at the top of the show.
Well, I mean, if you ever want to do a joint interview about martial arts with Johnny and I, technically it's not AT, but hey.
No, it's listen,
It's pretty cool though.
It is, yeah.
Wait, now
we're really more weighted towards talking about cool stuff. So
yeah, anything.
Okay, well,
and
cool.
We'll talk
stuff
about
is
anything.
good.
Wait, is his name really Johnny Tiger?
Johnny Tie.
Johnny Tie.
Oh, damn it! That'd be so cool.
But he always growls whenever he says his
Johnny
name.
Tiger.
So he says, "What's your name?" Johnny Tiger.
Just to show you how angry he is.
That's right.
All the time.
Furious,
Yeah.
Mr. Furious.
All right. So now we got that. I guess we're done.
Yeah.
All right. Well, boys, shall we get out of here?
Well, okay.
Sounds like a good idea.
And a successful news show once again. Thanks everybody for listening in.
And what else?
One last time. Wish I knew the words to that song. That's the only part I really know.
That's all
That
it
is the words.
No, the rest of it though. Like ice and snow and
It's in my jukebox. You'll probably find it and play it.
Yeah,
Let's not.
Send us a cease and desist letter.
that's right. Get a copyright strike on our YouTube channel.
Woohoo! We're popular.
Yeah.
We're noticed now.
That's right. We made it.
All right, we're out of here. Thanks everybody for listening.
gone.
Thanks, Clement, and
thanks, guys.
we will see everybody next week.
This podcast has been brought to you by Canadian Assistive Technology, providing low vision and blindness solutions across Canada. Find us online at www.canastech.com. That's CANASSTECH.com. Or call us toll free at 1-844-795-8324. For all your assistive technology servicing needs, call Chaos Technical Services at 778-847-6840 or find them online at chaostechnicalservices.com. Music provided by bensound.com.
Whoa, look at that. Master of the one take.